They didn't invite me to the family wedding. You're always a buzzkill anyway, my brother said. So I sent one text that made the bride cry and the groom call me 12 times. The message came in the middle of a Wednesday. I was at work, elbows deep in quarterly reports, my coffee gone cold, and the office printer screaming for more toner. Nothing dramatic, just the usual grind that defined my life. Then my phone buzzed, a group photo from my parents, all smiles, standing in front of a whitewashed chapel with my younger brother, Dylan, in a tux, and a woman I vaguely recognized in a bridal gown. No caption. Just that image. My first reaction was confusion. Then came the slow, creeping realization. This was the wedding. Dylan's wedding. The one I'd never been told was happening, at least not today. Not this weekend. Not at all. I stared at that photo for a full minute. I counted the people in it. My parents. My cousins. Even our second Uncle Randy, who we hadn't seen since Grandma's funeral 5 years ago. But not me. I scrolled through my texts, looking for some oversight, some last-minute invite I might have missed. Nothing. Just a message from Dylan a week ago asking if I could cover for him in the group chat with our landlord because he didn't want to deal with it. Classic. So I called him. Straight to voicemail. Texted him. Did you forget to invite me to your wedding? A minute later, he replied with a shrug emoji. Then, it's not really your scene, man. You're always kind of a buzzkill anyway. That was it. I just sat there, phone in hand, blinking at the screen like it was a joke I hadn't quite gotten yet. But I knew Dylan. If he had the nerve to call me a buzzkill, he wasn't joking. He was brushing me off. Casually. As if the years I'd spent cleaning up after his messes had meant nothing. Buzzkill. I bailed him out of jail when he got caught joyriding in high school, told Mom and Dad he was staying at my place so they wouldn't find out. I covered his rent for 3 months when he lost his job and didn't tell anyone. I kept his secrets. I let him sleep on my couch when he broke up with 3 girlfriends in 1 year. And this was how he repaid me. I didn't feel angry at first. Just tired. Like a man finally realizing he'd been walking up the wrong hill his whole life. Then I got the next message from him. Try not to make a thing out of this, okay? And that was when the anger started. I didn't make a thing out of it. Not right away, anyway. For the first few hours, I just stewed. I went home that night and poured myself a drink, not to drown it out, but to hold the heat still, let it settle so I could see it clearly. Because underneath the sting, there was something else, something sharper, more deliberate. All those years I'd been the guy who kept things together. The one who drove people home from parties. The one who remembered to send birthday cards. The one who held it all down while the others blew around like confetti. And they called me the buzzkill. I wasn't just excluded. I was dismissed. Laughed off like a wet blanket someone couldn't wait to toss aside. And the worst part? It wasn't just Dylan. My parents knew. My cousins. I saw their smiles in the photo. Everyone was in on it. Everyone had decided I didn't matter enough to even be informed. That should have been the end of it. Me walking away. Cutting them off. Letting them rot in the warmth of their shallow little event. But then came the message from Erin. Erin, the bride. I didn't know her that well, just a few awkward conversations at family barbecues. But there it was. Saturday night. Out of nowhere. Hey, I know this is last minute, but we decided to keep the wedding small. No hard feelings, I hope. It was Dylan's idea. Dylan's idea. My jaw clenched. We talked about it. It was Dylan, throwing me under the bus, probably making up some story about how I'd be too judgmental, how I wouldn't get it. And maybe that would have been fine too. Except I did know something. Something I hadn't meant to know. Something I'd stumbled on 2 weeks earlier, completely by accident. I hadn't connected it to the wedding then. But now, it was a loaded gun. See, I work in IT. It's not glamorous, but it gives you a sixth sense for digital footprints. Dylan had left his laptop at my place a few weeks ago when he was printing contracts. He forgot to log out of his email. I didn't snoop. I swear I didn't mean to. But the preview pane had been open. A string of emails, one with photos. Subject line: Vegas was wild. A couple of blurry shots of Dylan and two women who were definitely not Aaron, sprawled across a velvet booth in a club. One kissing his neck, one perched on his lap. Timestamped 3 days after his bachelor party. I remember clicking out of it, eyes wide, like I'd just seen something I wasn't supposed to. I figured he'd come clean eventually. Or maybe it wasn't what it looked like. Maybe he'd already told Aaron. But now, looking at that photo of their perfect wedding day, me scrubbed out of the frame like a blemish, I knew. He never told her. He never would. And I still had the screenshots. The timestamp. The subject line. The look on his face in the second photo, half drunk and smug. I didn't feel like a buzzkill. I felt like the keeper of a truth he thought would stay buried. And that's when it clicked. If they wanted silence, if they wanted peace at the cost of erasure, then they shouldn't have left me out. Because peace was never my job. Cleanup was. But this time? I was done cleaning up his mess. It wasn't revenge, not exactly. Revenge is messy. Emotional. No, what I felt was colder than that, precise, surgical. Like flipping a switch in a room I'd always been told to keep dark. I didn't rush it. I spent the rest of the week acting normal. Went to work. Did my meal prep. Watched the news. But all the while, those screenshots sat quietly in a folder on my desktop labeled D_tax docs. No one ever checks the tax docs. I read and reread the emails, memorized the names of the women who'd sent them, friends of Dylan's college buddy, apparently. There was even a reply from Dylan that made my stomach twist. Let's keep these off social, lol. Bride's got eagle eyes. Bride's got eagle eyes. But apparently not enough to catch her future husband sandwiched between strangers in the back of a VIP lounge. I wondered what Erin would think if she saw it now, on the morning of her wedding. No, not wonder. Planned? Because that's when the decision crystallized. Not during one of those sleepless nights, not in a burst of impulsive anger, but in the most mundane moment, brushing my teeth Thursday morning. I caught my own reflection mid-rinse, and it just hit me. This is it. This is the last time I play the quiet one. The reliable one. The afterthought? If they want a buzzkill, I'll give them a detonation. So I waited. I didn't send anything Friday. Let them enjoy the rehearsal dinner. Let them dance under fairy lights and toast to forever with flutes of Prosecco. Then came Saturday. I woke up at 7 a.m. sharp, made coffee, opened the folder. No shaking hands. No second-guessing. I typed one sentence in the message field. This is who you're marrying. Hope it's not too late to find someone better. Attached the photos. And hit send. No subject line. Just that. It was 11:42 a.m. The ceremony, I knew, was scheduled for noon. And I sat back in my chair and waited for the sound. Not of fireworks. Of impact. The first sign that it landed wasn't a call. It was the silence. A vacuum. Like the air had been sucked out of the morning. No birdsong. No traffic noise. Just the stillness of a world briefly off balance. I kept my phone on the counter. Volume up. Screen unlocked. 11:58 a.m. One read receipt. Then nothing. 12:03 p.m. My phone vibrated once. Then again. 12 times in under 2 minutes. Dylan. 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 Over and over, until the name started to blur. I didn't pick up. Then came the first message. What the hell did you do? Followed by another. You don't understand. It's not what it looks like. And then. Answer your phone. Please. Still I waited. At 12:09, my cousin Grace texted. Are you seeing this? Aaron just ran out of the church crying. Followed by a second message. What's going on? Did you do something? Then the bride's sister, Emma, someone I'd met once at a barbecue 3 years ago. Did you send Aaron something this morning? By 12:15, I turned my phone on Do Not Disturb. Not because I couldn't take the calls, because I wanted them to pile up. I sat on my couch, the same one Dylan had slept on after his second breakup, legs crossed, sipping coffee like it was just another weekend. On TV, the news was covering something forgettable. But my mind was elsewhere, picturing the moment. The hush in the pews. The exchanged glances. Erin's hands shaking as she looked down at her phone. Maybe she gasped. Maybe she didn't say a word. Just turned and walked. The way people do when they're past the point of words. Dylan would have tried to laugh it off. Maybe called it fake. Or claimed it was old, meaningless, a mistake. But you don't walk into your wedding and check your phone unless there's a reason you don't trust the groom. And now? She had won. I didn't need to be there to see the unraveling. I could feel it thread by thread. And still, I wasn't celebrating. Not yet. Because satisfaction doesn't come from noise. It comes from the quiet afterward. I thought I'd feel triumphant. And maybe part of me did. But that part was buried deep, beneath something heavier. Because when the calls stopped, when the text notifications slowed to a trickle, I wasn't left smiling. I was left alone. Still on that couch, still staring at a muted television, realizing there was no one left to lie to. I'd done what they always feared I would. I'd told the truth. But not just any truth, their truth. The one they'd wrapped in ribbons and swept under the rug. The one they'd hoped would stay quiet, out of sight, so they could keep playing pretend. And now, their perfect day had burst at the seams. I finally opened Dylan's last message. Sent at 12:47 p.m. You ruined everything. I stared at those words for a long time. Because here's the thing, no, I didn't. He did. Long before the photos. Long before the wedding. He ruined everything when he decided that loyalty was a one-way street. That I was only useful as long as I stayed silent. That I could carry his secrets like unpaid rent, while he paraded around like the golden child in cufflinks I'd probably paid for. The irony? I hadn't planned to do anything. Not until he called me a buzzkill. Not until he looked at me, the only person who ever truly showed up for him, and said, "You don't belong." That was the moment it shifted. Not because I wanted revenge. Because I finally believed him. He was right. I didn't belong. Not in that room. Not in that family photo. Not in the crowd of people who clapped at his speeches and pretended not to know what I knew. I wasn't the buzzkill. I was the truth. And they hated me for it. The next morning, my phone was quieter than it had been in years. No new messages from Dylan. No angry voice notes. Just the weight of absence, a silence so loud it filled the room. But other names started showing up. My aunt, Margie. Why didn't you tell me sooner? He's your brother. My cousin Ben, who I hadn't spoken to in months, sent just 3 words. You did right. But what surprised me most was Erin. Not a call. Not a meltdown. Just a message. Plain. Measured. Thank you for telling me. I'm sorry it had to come from you. No follow-up. No drama. Just closure. And somehow, that text hit me harder than all of Dylan's rage. Because in it was a kind of grace I never expected. From someone who had every reason to hate me. I typed a reply. Deleted it. Then typed another. You deserve better. And that was it. That was all I could offer. Honesty stripped of bitterness. Later that day, my mother called. She didn't even say hello. Why would you do this? She demanded. To your own brother? I didn't shout. Didn't even sigh. Because it was the truth. She went silent, just long enough for me to think she might understand. Then she spoke again. You've always had a way of making things about you. That was her verdict. After everything. After years of keeping secrets that weren't mine, paying debts that weren't mine, shielding them from consequences like some kind of unpaid fixer. I hung up without another word. And I didn't feel angry. I felt free. You learn a lot about people when you stop cleaning up their messes. 2 days after the wedding imploded, Dylan showed up at my apartment. No call. No warning. Just 3 hard knocks on my door. I didn't answer. I watched him through the peephole, tie loose around his neck, eyes bloodshot, phone in hand. He knocked again, then stood there for a full minute like he was rehearsing something. And then he left. That was enough for me. He didn't come to apologize. He came to rewrite the story. Make me the villain, himself the misunderstood victim. It was always like that with Dylan. He never owned his part, just tried to outtalk the consequences. I made myself a sandwich. That night, I got another message. This time, from Aaron's maid of honor, Jenna. We'd barely spoken before, but I remembered her. Quiet. Watchful. She's staying with me, the message read. Told the guests the wedding was postponed, not cancelled. But they all know. Most of them saw the photos. She said she's glad you sent them. I stared at the words for a long time. And something about them shifted the weight in my chest. Because for the first time, I wasn't just the guy who told the truth too loudly. I wasn't just the one who ruined the moment. I was the reason Aaron didn't walk into a lie dressed as a future. I was the reason someone else got a second chance before it was too late. And that meant something. It had to. 3 days passed. Long enough for the dust to settle, but not long enough for the whispers to stop. I thought about blocking Dylan. Thought about deleting the messages, wiping the whole event from my phone and my life. But I didn't. Instead, I kept them. All of them. The missed calls. The accusations. Even the one voicemail where he sounded like he'd been crying but still managed to say, "You don't know what you've done." But I did know. I'd pulled back the curtain on a lie he built his life around. I'd given Aaron a truth he never intended to share. And I'd made my family look in the mirror, whether they wanted to or not. I went into work like nothing had happened. No one there knew. No one asked? Just another Monday in the world of IT reports and misfiring printers. But at lunch, I got an unexpected email, from a name I hadn't heard in years. Mark. My cousin on my dad's side. The one who'd moved to Oregon and disappeared after the family split in two following some ancient argument I barely remembered. His message was short. Heard what happened. I know what it's like to be the scapegoat. If you ever want to talk, you've got someone. I sat there in the break room for a long time, rereading those lines while the microwave hummed behind me. Because there it was, proof that I wasn't the only one who'd been labeled the problem for not smiling through dysfunction. People like Dylan, they don't hate you for being wrong. They hate you for being right too soon. I left work early that day. I didn't go home. I drove out to the lake, our old family picnic spot. Back when we all pretended better. When Dylan and I were still kids and Mom used to braid Aaron's hair and Dad hadn't checked out yet. I parked the car and walked down to the dock. Sat there with my feet dangling over the edge. No music. No texts. Just the stillness of water and the dull thrum of everything I'd finally let go of. For a while, I didn't think about the wedding. Or the fight. Or the phone calls. I thought about all the versions of me that existed in my family's heads. The dependable one. The boring one. The invisible one. And now? The threat. Because when you've spent your whole life making peace, people never expect you to declare war. Not until it's too late. But I hadn't declared war. Not really. I just walked off the battlefield. Let them fight each other for once. Let Dylan explain to his guests why the ceremony never happened. Let my parents defend why they thought silence was more polite than inclusion. Let everyone else decide what version of the story made them feel safest. As for me, I had nothing left to prove. And that was the most dangerous thing of all. By the end of the week, my apartment was filled with flowers. Not for me, of course. They weren't condolences or thank you notes. They were returned wedding arrangements, bulk orders of peonies and eucalyptus and sad little centerpieces that never made it to the reception. My parents, ever pragmatic, had used my address for the deliveries. Probably forgot to change it when they took me off the guest list. I didn't even bother moving them. Let the flowers wilt. Let the water grow stagnant. It felt fitting, like walking through the remains of someone else's story, the party that never happened, The celebration that never included me. That Saturday, the doorbell rang. I half expected another delivery, but when I opened the door, it was my father. He looked like he hadn't slept in days. His tie was loose, his hair thinner than I remembered, eyes dull behind his wire frames. But what struck me most was his posture. Not angry. Not superior. Just deflated. "Can I come in?" he asked. I didn't answer. Just stepped aside. He walked in slow, like he was afraid the floor might give out beneath him. Took one look at the flowers, then turned to me. "You made your point," he said. I leaned against the counter. "Did I?" He sighed. "You humiliated your brother." "No," I said. "He did that himself. I just lifted the veil. He's your brother. Who left me off the guest list. Who called me a buzzkill and laughed behind my back. Who cheated on his fiancée and expected the world to pretend it didn't happen." My father looked away, like the weight of it had finally settled. Like maybe, just maybe, there was a crack in the armor. He was scared. He said. "Did something stupid." "He's young." "No," I said quietly but firmly. "He's not. He's not a kid anymore. And neither am I." I watched the words hit him. He stood there like he was waiting for a cue, some script to follow. But I wasn't offering one. He sat down on the arm of the couch, eyes on the ground. "When your mother and I found out," he began. "When we saw the photos, we didn't know what to say. You said nothing. We didn't think it was our place." I laughed, just once. A hollow, exhausted laugh. "Funny," I said. "It's never your place when I'm the one getting hurt." He didn't argue. That might have been the most honest thing he'd done in years. There was a long silence between us. The kind that carries everything unsaid. Then he stood. "Your mother doesn't know I'm here," he said. "Didn't think she would. She's angry. Embarrassed. She thinks you torched the family." I crossed my arms. Maybe it needed burning. He looked at me then, really looked at me, for the first time in a long while. And I saw something shift. Not understanding, not forgiveness. But maybe the beginning of respect. The reluctant kind. "I don't expect you to come back," he said. "But you're still our son." "No," I said. "I'm your insurance policy." "And you finally ran out of coverage." That was the end of it. He left without another word. Didn't slam the door. Didn't hurl any parting shots. Just walked back into the world they built without me. And I let him. Because I wasn't angry anymore. I wasn't sad. I was done. That night, I sat on the floor, surrounded by dead flowers and silence, and realized something: peace isn't always quiet. Sometimes it's the sound of your phone not ringing. The silence left behind when you're no longer needed as a buffer, a fixer, a lie. Sometimes peace is knowing that you finally acted not to keep the peace, but to keep yourself. And you didn't flinch.